Cultivated rice spread from a valley in China about 12,000 years ago to more than 3.5 billion people, the world's population, consuming rice daily. This small grain has made a huge impact on cultures all around the globe and can be made into countless delicious dishes. In fact, you have probably eaten rice in the last few days. However, there is more to this delicious food than meets the eye. But how does rice go from a 3 to 6 foot plant and end up as only a few millimeters at the end of the milling process? To find out, here is, featuring everyone's favorite carb, the little big history of rice.
Rice, like all plants, relies on the sun to survive. By taking in water, carbon dioxide, and energy from sunlight, rice can undergo photosynthesis to make glucose. According to a 2013 article, some special plants use 4 carbon atoms instead of 3 when they produce glucose, which saves water and increases efficiency. In fact, scientists are trying to engineer rice to have it go through photosynthesis in this way, so it will take less of a toll on the environment. Without the sun being created billions of years ago, rice would certainly be very different, if it would even be around at all. The specific chemical structure of rice shapes its characteristics. Nuclear fission in the stars created the elements that make up rice as we know it. The protective covering of the rice plant, called the husk, consists of silica and cellulose. The next layer, which is the bran, is made of fiber, protein, and fat. This part stays on brown rice, making it a healthier alternative to white rice. Finally, the inside is mostly made of carbohydrates, the main macromolecule in rice. Another important part of the chemical structure of rice is the starch. Amylose and amylopectin are 2 forms of glucose that contribute to the rice's starchiness. If the grains are higher than in the former, they are more separate and take longer to digest, while if they have more of the latter, they are stickier. All these components make rice a beloved food around the world. Rice wasn't always as diverse and tasty as it is today. Before it was domesticated, rice's predecessor, Oryza rufipogon, was actually more like a weed. People couldn't really eat it, and so they started picking out the varieties that could actually be used. With the help of artificial selection, rice plants could be more fruitful, like the types of rice that we eat nowadays.
Around 10,000 years ago, rice was cultivated in Eastern Asia, most likely in China. It quickly began growing in popularity and thus ingrained itself in many cultures. Starting from the age of exploration, rice was brought around the world due to trade. For example, European explorers helped spread many crops and products including rice. Also, African slaves who had knowledge of the variety Oryza glarina were brought to the United States to cultivate rice there. Clearly, globalization got many more people hooked on rice. As time went on, it became a staple food in an increasing number of places.
But how does rice turn into the tiny grain we all know and love? The rice field is first prepared by plowing, fertilizing, and smoothing the soil. Then irrigation is used during the growing months. Today, putting the soil before planting is also very common because it was used back then in China, and it works well by preventing too much water from seeping away. Rice has a numerous amount of uses. Not only is rice used for consumption, but it is also used for hats, shoes, mattress filling, distilled liquor, laundry starch, and packing material. Evidently, from the agricultural revolution onwards, rice would permanently be connected to groups of people across the globe.
Rice has evolved greatly during the modern revolution. Today, there are countless new rice farming techniques and new rice strains. Rice production has increased much faster than the human population. This is all due to the advancement in technology for fertilizers and yields. Trade has also played a great part in advancing rice production. As rice became more prominent, innovators made different strains of rice that have their own taste. For example, there is brown rice that people favor for its health benefits versus thick, sticky japonica rice. However, rice was not always as diverse and productive as it is today. The plant actually got its start billions of years ago, soon after the Big Bang.
There have been many attempts to genetically engineer rice to make it healthier, more productive, and pest-resistant. One notable example was during the Green Revolution of the 1970s. Scientists in the United States developed a miracle rice, which had a higher yield, and introduced this crop to third world Asian countries. Unfortunately, only the rich farmers could afford to test this product, making it harder for others to compete. Additionally, this miracle rice was very susceptible to pests, and the increased pesticide use harmed the environment. More recently, there have been concerns that genetically modifying rice could have an overall negative effect. Although there are some nice immediate payoffs like less waste or more nutritional value, changing all rice plants to have the best genes would lower the diversity of the species. So, if some disease were to hit the rice population, it would be easy for most of the plants to die off, leaving billions around the world hungry.
Rice has made a tremendous impact on today because it is a staple food for more than half of the world. 9 out of 10 people who consume rice are in fact Asian. More than 66% of today's population consume rice every single day. Rice is such a dependable food because of how it is able to survive in such harsh conditions, but still provide. Rice started spreading and gaining popularity in other countries because of how easy it was to grow and mass produce due to the many different climates of the countries. Because of this, many of the people who completely depend on rice are poor. It's a cheap yet satisfying source of energy. Additionally, rice is a major part in foods and dishes around the world. Some examples include sushi, fried rice, risotto.
Rice has become a dominant ingredient in the world of foods. If you eat a dish from Asia, there's almost definitely rice within it. But rice isn't just prominent in Asia. It is also eaten around the globe due to interconnection. Entire cultures have been constructed with a foundation of rice. Billions of people rely on rice, meaning that it has a larger impact than just something to keep us full. Eons of increasing complexity in evolution has come together to change rice from a bunch of elements made in stars to a weedy, unappetizing plant to a tasty grain that civilizations were built upon and that we savor today.